It was unvarnished and direct diplomatic analysis from one half of what's known as the special relationship, and it was never meant to be made public. In a series of what were supposed to be secret diplomatic cables back to London, published last weekend, Sir Kim Darroch, Britain's ambassador to the U.S., variously described President Trump and his White House as, quote, insecure, inept, and incompetent. A few days later, President Trump said the feeling was mutual.
The ambassador has not served the UK well. I can tell you that. We're not big fans of that man, and he has not served the UK well.
Just yesterday, the president tweeted that Darroch is, quote, a very stupid guy, and again criticized British Prime Minister Theresa May for her handling of Brexit negotiations. But the final straw came last night when Boris Johnson, the front-runner in the race to replace Theresa May, refused to say that he would not fire Darroch as ambassador. Hours later, Darroch, who has been Britain's ambassador to the U.S. since 2016, resigned. In a letter he wrote, the current situation is making it impossible for me to carry out my role as I would like. Today, Prime Minister May expressed support for Darroch.
Sir Kim has given a lifetime of service to the United Kingdom, and we owe him an enormous debt of gratitude. Good government depends on public servants being able to give full and frank advice.
And earlier today, Johnson seemed to backtrack.
You weren't going to back him. You said last night you weren't going to back him.
No, on the contrary. Well, my view is it's wrong to drag civil servants into the political arena, that's what I think.
And now the view of this diplomatic rift from Sir Peter Westmacott, who, among his postings as a British ambassador and diplomat, served as Kim Darroch's predecessor here in Washington from 2012 to 2016. Sir Peter Westmacott, welcome back to the program. Did Ambassador Darroch have to step down today?
Thank you, Judy.
Did the ambassador have to?
It seems to me that it was his choice. It was his choice to do so. He was not recalled, he was not asked to resign, but I think that he had concluded that the pressures on his family and his ability to do the job, because he was being frozen out of access to the White House, for the time being anyway, and perhaps the final straw, as you put it, of noticing that the person most likely to be the next British Prime Minister wasn't going to back him on television last night, made him feel, I think it's probably best if I stand aside and we resolve this by somebody else being appointed to take my place. So did he have to go? No, it was his choice. Personally, I regret it, because I don't think an ambassador doing an excellent job should be drummed out of office for doing nothing wrong. But I think it was his decision, as I say.
What does it say, though, that Boris Johnson, who is seen as the front runner, the favorite to win the race for Prime Minister, did not vigorously stand by him?
I think it takes us straight into British domestic politics, which are, frankly, a bit of a mess at the moment. We've had 3 years going around in circles trying to work out how to make Brexit happen. And we've also now in the middle of a leadership contest for the Conservative Party, which is going to determine who the next Prime Minister is after Theresa May. Boris Johnson, front runner, but needs the support of the right-wing, hardline Brexiteers within his party when the votes are cast in the coming days. And I think that part of this is that Kim Darroch has been accused of being soft on Brexit and pro-European and so on. So I think Boris Johnson was not going to support the ambassador unequivocally. The second point is that he thinks he's got a close relationship with Donald Trump, and he thinks that's going to be important when he becomes Prime Minister, if he becomes Prime Minister, and that this may be the key to making a success of Brexit with nice new trade deals. So I suspect it was partly that he wasn't going to get on the wrong side of the president. This morning, asked about it, he seemed to be taking another view. There was, after all, very strong support in Parliament for Kim Darroch, for the position he'd been left in, and I think for the principled way in which he decided to resign and stand aside for the public good.
Is it significant, though, that in terms of overall what Boris Johnson did, that he seems to be deferring to the United States, deferring to President Trump's wishes?
I think that we need to keep in mind, what is this all about? This is about a totally improper and probably illegal leak of some sensitive communications. You know, that's the heart of it. And then it's also, I would say, in part about a very sharp, perhaps over reaction from the president. You know, one day's tweets is one thing, but 2 and 3 days of it, and very rude remarks about Trump, about Kim Darroch and about Theresa May, much ruder than things he said about a number of other heads of government and representatives of other governments who've behaved far, far worse, if I might say so. I think that is a part of it. The Boris Johnson part of it is, in a sense, a sideline. But I think what we've seen is an indication of the importance he attaches to getting everybody to support him within the Conservative Party when they vote for the new leader of that party. That's what it's about.
Is there informed guessing, speculation, or solid reporting right now in London as to how these sensitive secret cables were made public?
Yes, there's a great deal, Judy. It's pretty unprecedented, not totally. You've had WikiLeaks dumping lots of cables in the United States. We've had people from time to time making public documents that should not be made public. And some of these were quite sensitive, but they were not earth-shattering. One senior member of the United States Senate said to me yesterday, "This seems to me to be reporting based on typical British understatement." So I think, you know, there was nothing there that was tremendously liable to cause offence. So I think that's what Kim was doing. Who did it? Who caused the leak? We don't know. There's an inquiry taking place at the moment. It looks as though he's been caught up in this battle for the future of the Conservative Party and the battle about whether professionals should still be in charge of key negotiations representing the British government, or whether there should be more political appointments, because there is gossip that one of the reasons why this was done was to get Kim out of the job, to stop any ordinary other diplomat, somebody like me, getting the job in his place, and ensure that there was a pro-Trump, pro-Brexit politician installed in his place. But at the moment, we honestly don't know. That's why the inquiry is so important.
And finally, just quickly, as a diplomat, is this episode going to make it less likely that diplomats are going to be willing to speak candidly in their communications back to their own governments?
I think that is a real risk. To be honest, we've seen this before. After WikiLeaks and after one or two other leaks which have been made over the last few years, I've noticed colleagues of mine feeling that they better be very wary of what they commit to print rather than what they say in person or sometimes over a secure telephone. I'm hoping that this inquiry will get to the bottom of it and will show that this was a one-off caused by some political stratagem or maneuver, and that it does not become a symptom of a different culture, which means that officials cannot do their jobs, cannot tell truth to power, cannot tell honestly what they think is going on in the countries where they are based if they are diplomats. Because I think if this is part of a new culture rather than a one-off, then it certainly will, as you suggest, make people less willing to do their jobs properly, and they'll be of much less value to the governments that they represent abroad.
Sir Peter Westmacott, the former British ambassador to the United States, thank you.